Hi, everyone. We're going to get kicked off in a couple of minutes. My partner today, Adamola, is not available. However, he might be joining us later, so I'm looking forward to having him join us. Hopefully, he'll make it for part of our session today. I'm going to give it a few minutes and let everybody get settled, and then we'll certainly kick off our exciting meeting for today. Alrighty, so it looks like we're going live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bulletproof Accountant Masterclass, how you deploy a private local AI agent to secure your firm and automate SOC-level cyber defenses without an IT team or a monthly SaaS fee. My name is Michelle Novak, founder and cyber engineer of Cardinal Bytes, a cybersecurity risk and compliance management company. We help CPAs, accountants, tax professionals, and bookkeepers get compliant and audit ready with the IRS 4557 and the FTC safeguard rules. I have over 30 years experience in the financial sector as an auditor and enterprise risk and governance. So today we're going to learn how to use a digital robot to keep your client's secret information safe from the bad guys online. More hackers today are targeting small accounting firms because they think you don't have the fancy security tools, which makes it very easy for them. A lot of you are using AI or other tools. However, today we're going to teach you AI DIY, your secret weapon to fight back without needing $1 million budget. Some types of AI and LLMs like Microsoft Copilot for M365 or ChatGPT or Claude for Business are important. And it's important that if you are using an AI tool, that you're using one of those that are paid for. The difference between that, and we're going to get into discussion a little bit early on, is that it protects the information that you're inputting into these tools, and it's not learning and keeping that information. So the IRS and the FTC, under the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, safeguard rules will look for written information security, or your WISP. They start by checking if you have a strategy for new technologies like AI. So keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this today. Before we begin, I want to tell everybody that I would love for you to keep your videos on, your audios on mute, and any questions, please put them in the chat. And at the end of the session, I'll go through your questions and answers, and I'm more than happy to ask any live questions at that towards the end of our web class today. So without any further ado, let's begin. What is AI? So for those of you that are not really sure what AI is, or you think you have an idea, imagine a robot that has to read every book in the world and never sleeps. It's like having a super fast assistant that can spot things we might miss because we're tired. AI isn't a magic. It isn't very fast pattern finder. AI is moving from being a chatbot you talk to a shield that watches your back 24 hours, 7 days a week. Sorry about that. I got a tickle in my throat. So if you can imagine, right, a lot of companies today, Claude just put out Mythos. You have ChatGPT, you have Gemini, you have Perplexity. You have a lot of these systems now that can be used to help protect you and the work that you do. You can set up them to be autonomous, to do certain things for you, to handle tasks, respond to email. You could do a bunch of things with them, right? But think of AI as an assistant you can talk to rather than code, right? The benefit of using an AI tool to do all of these things is you don't have to be an expert in or a computer scientist, right, to do this, right? It can summarize your long tax law changes or draft a client's email in a matter of seconds, right? You input information in and it regurgitates out. So that's the benefit of using AI. Auditors check for unauthorized use of public AI. So one of the things that you need to know is if you are using any of these tools, when an auditor walks in from the IRS or FTC or any other regulatory body, AI will now be tested to see if you're regurgitating public information into these tools and not using a paid tool. If you use a free public robot, you may be leaking client data. So please just make sure that you're aware of that. Only use AI tools that have a signed data processing agreement or a DPA with your firm. And that is critical. So even if you're using another software that uses AI, anything that you have that is using AI, you want to make sure that you have in the terms of the agreement a data processing agreement or DPA with your firm to help protect you and your client's data and your information. So let's talk about the three types of AI. And I always like to kind of look at this screen and say there's the writer, which we call the generative AI. This is like a smart parrot. If you use ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot for this, it writes emails and tax summaries in seconds, right? So basically, what it does is it's using information. So let's say you wanted to let's say you want to draft tax summaries. It's going to act like a builder. It's going to analyze all that data and put it together for you. And then it's going to give you a summary of that information. That's what it does. It regurgitates and it looks through and it does deep research, and it can do anomalies. It can point out remediations. It can point out anything you want it to do, right? It's fantastic, but it's the writer, right? It writes the reports. It writes the information. It can write a full detailed summary to your client. It gives a lot of information. It generates, and that's why they call it generative AI. Then you have the Scout, predictive AI, right? This is where it's streaming and it's finding thousands and thousands of patterns, right, in your numbers to guess what might happen next. It's predictive. It's analyzing and it's predicting the probability of something and what it can do. Although it can't predict lottery numbers, because if it did, we'd all be rich. It's predictive, right? It has its boundaries. It finds errors in that trial balance. That's what the predictive or the Scout does, right? Then you have the actual agent, the AI agent. This is the doer, right? This AI agent, right, doesn't just talk. It follows a plan. It uses tools and it finishes tasks for you. And we're going to talk and show you some of the things that it actually will do. So when we're talking agentic AI, you also want to, again, be aware that all software or any type of AI tool, depending on how it's programmed, depending on the information that you're looking for it to extract and give you, you as the authority and the human must always verify that data. I tell everybody that, right? The agent follows a checklist to archive files automatically, right? The FTC will look for oversight of these agents. If a doer agent deletes a file incorrectly, they'll want to see your log on what happened. So it's important that you understand how these tools work and not just use them. And what's the benefit, especially when we're dealing with cybersecurity rules and regulations. You know, the Scout, the predictive, it's like a detective with magnifying glass. And I want to go back to that, right? It's going to dive in deep. It's going to find the tiniest mistakes. And we just saw that um, with the new output of Mythos, right? It can go and look 30 years back on a system and identify the smallest vulnerability in that system, which is fantastic. But what do you do with this information, right? What does that mean to you? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So how do you talk to AI? AI, there's two things that we say. You can either give it prompts or engineer prompts, or you can give it commands, right? And how the command prompt works. The command prompt is like a secret texting window to your computer. Instead of just clicking icons with the mouse, you type exactly what you want that computer to do, right? So it's the backstage of your computer. Typing a command in AI has to be specific. You want to define for it what its role is, what it needs to do, and then you want to provide parameters for it, and then you want to give it some context when you're giving it an idea of what you need it to do. You're not just saying, hey, can you look at this file and analyze it? No. You need to be very specific in order to make sure that AI does not hallucinate or drift, because it's going to go through thousands and thousands of information and particles and pull out, but it's not really going to know that it's for you. You want to teach it to work for you and who your company is, right? You want it to understand what you're trying to get out of the context that it's producing. So think of it as a boss window. You're giving direct orders to the computer's brain without any pretty pictures getting in the way. And I'd like to keep this simple, right? To get the robot to help you, you have to give very clear instructions. Just like telling a friend, how do you play a new game? Think about that. You're teaching this AI the same way. If you were going to teach them how to go play cards, you would need to explain it in detail. They may have questions or why, right? The same thing is for these tools, right? You want to pick a job, right? Give it a job. Tell it what you need it to do. You are a world-class CPA, you tell it, or an expert in tax law, whatever you decide to tell it. Then you give it a task. Look at this contract for red flags. Let's just say that's what we're using here today. Then you set a rule. Show me the top 3 risks in a simple list, right? So it's going to take that information and it's going to digest it, and then it's going to produce you a report. It's going to tell you what it found, and it's going to be astronomical. But I'm going to tell you stop, because no matter what it found, you need to read that thoroughly. And you need to ask additional questions, and you need to validate that information that it's giving you. And again, I always want to tell you, never put a client's real name or social or any public information in an AI tool. Use client A or business X to keep things private. Okay? Because it'll respond back and regurgitate that information. You don't want to share public information when using these tools. Auditors may ask to see your prompt library to ensure your staff isn't asking the AI to do something illegal or unethical. It's not unheard of today. And if they find something, they're going to question it, and they're going to ask, and they're going to want to understand what the context was behind it. But let's get back to how do you talk to an AI, right? Again, giving clear, simple instructions. If I want them to help me develop a contract, or let's say an MSA for a client, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, you are the expert legal advisor. Please look at case law for a litigation for a cybersecurity company. I need you to be the expert, and The task here is, please write me a detailed content-driven contract, or MSA, for one of my clients, business X, and make sure that it uses contractual legal jargon, and make sure that it complies with all of the rules and regulations for a cybersecurity company for a new client to onboard. That's the task, right? And then I'm going to say, show me an area of any concerns outside of this MSA where you think we need to enhance the protocols or the contract language itself. And then I'm going to push that. And what it's going to do, it's going to build this beautiful MSA. But doesn't mean it built it right. Doesn't mean that all the verbiage and language in it is correct. It just means it will build it for us. So the easy wins here, right? You don't need to be a computer genius to lock your digital doors. Most of us are using these tools today, but you need to make sure that you're here and you understand that AI, no matter what tool it is, can hallucinate and have drifts. And it's so intuitive. It learns everything that you're inputting so it can advance and continue to advance and get better and better at the output that it gives you. You know, under the safeguard rules, firms must prove they have evaluated their risks. And this would be one of your risks by using any kind of tool, right? Just like you have to validate your vendors today under the FTC safeguard rules and make sure that they're compliant. If they're using AI tools, you want to make sure that that information is not being shared or learned, especially if you're using their tool. So, why do we need oversight? Because most hacks happen because of a mistake, not a genius coder, right? And I always say you can use a bot to battle a bot. That's critical, right? This is like having a camera at the front door. If someone comes in at 3 a.m. when the office is closed, the robot will shout, "Hey," and wake you up. You can use tools that will help protect your system that are AI driven, that you already have access to, that you're not even aware of. Okay? Most of us are on Microsoft platforms. So if you use Microsoft Sentinel or even a simple Excel sheet paired with AI to scan for weird login times, it's going to do all the work for you. You could tell the robot to log every login. You can say, give me a log daily. You can ask it to save it to a folder for audit and trackability purposes. And then you can ask it to detect if anybody's logging in between the hours of, 11 p.m. at night to, 6:30 in the morning, and send alerts via email if something is detected. That's how smart these tools are. Microsoft Sentinel is a great tool, and I recommend it as an added layer. A lot of people have or work with third-party vendors, or what we call managed service providers, or MSP, that deploy tools onto your systems to help you protect yourselves and manage the vulnerability and take a look at those alerts. But I'm going to tell you right now, all of them require a human to review. Any alert that comes through is human-based. You must review those alerts to determine if it's false positive, if something really is going on, if there's an actual infiltration or hack happening. And most people sleep overnight. So this is a guardrail and a watcher on your watchers. And that's why I recommend using an AI tool to do that, right? You can deploy a tool like Microsoft Sentinel to watch your watchers, especially if you have an MSP or if you have an internal department, right? Monitoring your systems and working within your systems. It can be intuitively there to help that second layer of defense, as I like to call it. A second layer of defense against a hack, a threat. And you can program this AI tool to do these things for you very simply. Let's talk about a couple of things that you can use this tool for. An easy win here is mapping PII drives. You have to have a map of where PII, or personal identifiable information, sits throughout your entire network, as well as your individual servers, your desktops, even on your telephone. Okay? So you can use a tool like we discussed on how to identify and secure all drives holding your client data. And that is a requirement for audit. You can make a map of where all the important gold client data is kept. If you don't know where it is, you can't protect it, right? So you can use AI to say, list every drive. Z, every drive, right, that you possibly want. You can use the right-click property security method to check permissions. You could do it that way, right, manually. But you can use AI to draft a mapping path, document for your records, to store on your drive. You can create a file that says drive map in your compliance binder if you want. And it never leaves it, right? It can watch it constantly. It can see visitors if anybody tried to touch that data. But most importantly, you can map it. And now you'll have an idea. So when you're asked from an insurance company, where does all your private information sit? You'll be able to produce a report or a log to show them. And you can even command the AI to say, can you do this monthly and produce a log for me monthly and dump it into this file? Because it'll constantly look for things in your Dropbox. It'll look for anything on the cloud. It'll look everywhere that PII information sits. And what's important about this, if you have seasonal workers, you want to do something like this on their systems, and you want to make sure that you're aware of the information they're keeping, because ultimately you're held accountable. Should something happen or they get breached, it's going to come back to you because you contracted them. So that's very important to understand that. The FTC looks for least privilege access. If the receptionist has access to the tax partner's folder, you'll fail your audit, right? And that's the bottom line. Least privilege means least privilege access. I tell everybody, do not save customer information on your desktops, in folders. And if you have to save them on your folders, lock those folders down. They should all be saved to an external, either cloud or service provider, right? Put them on a virtual, but get yourself a VPS of, a virtual private server if you don't have one. There are great companies out there like Slide today that does data backup, right? Data backup and recovery, great tool. You can use that. You can save all of your entire platform on that. It'll save everything. But again, you want to make sure that you do not have exposure where exposure shouldn't be. And that's the criticality of setting up something like this. So a command for something like this would be, you are a cybersecurity compliance officer for a tax firm. I need to build a PII inventory for IRS Pub 4557 to be in compliance. Generate a tab with 4 columns, listed asset name, location, whether it's cloud or local. Give me the data type. Tell me the data type that you find. And then you could say, is it SSN, bank information, customer, PII, addresses, emails, whatever it is that you want to put in there. And the risk level, right? Where you found it, based on where you found it. Then give me a step-by-step guide on how to search my Windows File Explorer for PDF files containing W-2 or 1040s that are older than 3 years so I can archive them, right? This is how intelligent these tools can be used and utilized to do this. So I will share with you, it's so important that you understand the benefit of using these tools. Okay? The benefit of using these tools alone are really incredible. And I recommend everybody, again, everybody, go ahead and kind of dabble in it. Don't be afraid of it. AI, you should not be afraid of. You should use it. It's not replacing you, it's helping you. And that's what these tools were really meant to be built for. So let's talk about cloud scan, right? So a cloud scan, finding hidden SSNs. So you can actually show it how to find misplaced social security numbers in your OneDrive or your Dropbox. You know, we can go on a treasure hunt, if you would, for social security numbers that might be hidden where they shouldn't be, like in a public folder that you may not even be aware that you have. So one of the things that you can do is you can go to Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, and you can use the sensitive information type tool to find any misplaced SSNs and move them into a locked vault, right? That's critical. These are all DIY steps that you can use, right? You go to Microsoft, you go to compliance.microsoft.com, you run a content search using, US Social Security number pattern. Use AI to categorize these results by risk. If the robot finds one, move it to a locked vault. Move the found file to an encrypted vault, like Microsoft OneDrive Personal Vault immediately, right? You need to make sure that you're protecting your data. So, in a command, right, you can say something like, act like Microsoft 365 security expert. This is what you're telling the AI tool. Give me the exact KYL or keyword query language code to find any document in my SharePoint, in my Dropbox, in my cloud, wherever it may sit, that contains a social security number pattern, and you give it a pattern, right? After providing the code, explain, like I'm a 10-year-old, how to set up an alert policy in M365 Compliance Center that emails me immediately if the user tries to share one of these files outside of the company. You could also say, help me identify this, create a folder, right? And document and track this information that was found for security and audit purposes. That is how intelligent this tool can work as a helper for you. Again, the commands that you give, and we talked early on about how to give it very simple commands. You want to tell it its role. You want to tell it the task it needs to accomplish. Then you want to give it some context in clear written form. Don't be afraid to add context, right? I always tell everybody that. The IRS Security Summer Guidelines require you to protect PII at all forms, no matter where it is. Finding a single SSN in a public folder during an audit is a major violation. And I see it happen all the time. I conduct a lot of cybersecurity risk assessments. I'm in servers, I'm on desktops, I'm on workstations, even mobile phones, right? And I find it all the time. And it's a very simple fix. Again, we're giving you tools today that you can use to do yourself. If you don't have the internal resources or you're relying on a third party to do this for you. because compliance is compliance. Compliance is about auditing, accountability, quality assurance, and making sure that you are governing now, not just writing a pretty little document in a wisp, as we say, and saying, oh, I do X, Y, and Z. And then when an auditor comes in and they ask for proof of that now, you don't have it. So again, take advantage of AI to be that helper, especially if you're a smaller business. It's a great benefit of it. So let's talk about access log audit. And I'm going to just share with you a little story before I even talk about this. Back in February, I get a call from one of my clients, 30 years in his profession as a CPA, pillar of his community. Gets a call. He had an audit. IRS sent him an audit notice, wanted to come in, did an audit. They must have found something. I think it was like some kind of glitch, and they asked him for an access log to see what it was, to verify that it wasn't any kind of exfiltration or actual breach. So he calls me. And I'm like, okay, he has an MSP provider. I'm like, well, who's your MSP provider? You need to contact them. They should have access. They should be tracking all of this. This should be something that was set up with them. Henceforth, they didn't have it. He couldn't prove it. So the IRS suspended his EFIM right in the middle of tax season. Okay. We're currently working with the delegates there to kind of help him get his EFIM back. But, tax season's already over. Right? So it doesn't help you. So audit logs. Let's talk about the paper trail. Audit logs are so important, especially when you want to use it for AI. AI is a continuous oversight. Instead of scrolling through thousands of lines of data, you use AI to act as a filter that shows you the weird stuff. Before AI can find a threat, it needs to know what it's quite looking for, I should say. So you feed the AI 30 days of clean logs so it learns that. You can do a lot of different things with AI. You can take a look at any information you want it to assess and take a look at. We talked about the Scout earlier. It will assess and it will understand that information. It'll digest it, and then it'll build a blueprint for how it analyzes it and the outputs that it puts out. But one of the best uses of AI in log auditing is spotting geographic anomalies. If a user logs in from New York and then 20 minutes later from London, the AI should flag this as impossible travel. Right? Think about that. And that's the benefit of using AI for access logs. You can use your AI specifically to watch over whenever an account is granted admin or owner status. Auditors like the IRS and FTC look for these changes because they are often the first step in a data breach. You can ask it to monitor elevated privileges. Anybody who tries to change any kind of privilege. Again, even if you have an internal IT department or you're using an external vendor to monitor your systems, this is critical. And you may even want to ask your vendor, how do they do that? How do they know if somebody signed on somewhere else out of the country 5 minutes later? And what do they do about it when they spot that? How do they verify that you don't have malware that was just loaded on your system? That is important. Prompting the logs. You can use generative AI, right, like ChatGPT Pro or Team, to read exported CSV files. And then it can take a look and give you the information that you need, right? I would say something like, you are a cybersecurity auditor. Analyze these 1,000 login rows. List any logins that happen between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. or any logins from an IP address outside the United States. That's what I would tell them, right? Then I would ask them to analyze it. Then, if it shows something that seems wonky, welcome aboard! Hi, Adamola. You're on mute. It's nice to see you, my friend. I'm glad that you were able to join us. I kind of given a preview to everybody that you were going
Hello.
to.
Can you hear me now?
I can, I can.
Okay, amazing, amazing
Great to
stuff.
see you. So we're just
That's
in
good.
the midst. I'm just going through using AI. We talked a lot about the different types of AI, the differences between, you know, personal AI and, you know, business grade AI and how it protects your data, doesn't learn from it, so on and so forth. I was just talking to them about how they can set up generative AI to read and export CSV files, right? And how you can give it a prompt like, you're a cybersecurity auditor, analyze these 1,000 logs, list blah, 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 tell me if anybody logged in. So that's where we are right now.
And
But I'm going
I'm
to
sure you
moment because
want
I don't
them
know.
not to use the free versions of the tools.
Yeah. Listen to me. I want you to kind of take a minute because I know you just joined us. I don't know who's on the call today, but give a brief introduction of yourself because obviously I shared who I am, but tell everybody who you are.
Okay, hi guys. I don't know who I am. My name is AI. My name is Ademola Esimeme. I am the host of the Kingdoms podcast, ranked to global top 2%, and Diary of a CFO, ranked to global top 3%. My work is at the intersection of finance, tech, and media. So I am a finance, tech, and a media consultant as well. So I teach AI and, of course, help businesses to actually scale faster by using AI. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great. One of the things that he's being very modest, but he's like in the top 2% globally on his podcast. And also, one of the things I want to add is that he just started a nice school community. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, I think it's great that we're doing that work to really give back to the communities and help others build and learn these
Exactly.
tools. Not only these tools, but other areas of opening a business or running a business. So that's fantastic. But I'm glad to see you today. I'm glad you were able to join. So
I
I'm
am
going to jump
happy.
right back in, and I probably have a lot of questions for you.
Okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. So let me just get through this slide, and then certainly you can help us out with the next slide. But again, I want to go back to what we were just talking about, the access log, right? Prompting is so critical. Like, I let me break this down for you like a third grader. Like, this is like a diary that records everything that everyone does in your system. If a file disappears, we can look at that diary to see who took it. And that's what this is about, especially access logs, right? Um, you can actually have it record in your Microsoft compliance portal today any changes. So it's important that you understand the tools that you already have built in M365 that you can turn on and use in addition to the AI, right? That will help and add that second layer of defense against anything that's going on. But let's go to our next slide, right? So the ghost exit. You know, on April 16th, it's the most dangerous day of your data. That's what I say to all CPAs. It's when your seasonal helpers leave, but their digital keys often stay behind. We're going to learn how to use AI to ghost their access so you can sneak back in. And this is important. Everyone here who has seasonal workers or remote workers that they only use from time to time, it's important that you monitor your systems. And you can use AI to do that for you, to send you alerts, to take a look at it. So imagine you hired 10 helpers to help you move into a new house. You gave them all the keys. On April 16th, the job is done and they go home. If you don't change the locks or take the keys back, those 10 employees or those 10 people or anyone who steals their keys or their bag can walk into your house while you're sleeping in July. So the goal is to remove 100% of the access for terminated or seasonal staff within 24 hours of tax day. That is a requirement, right? That is a legal requirement. You should automatically decentralize them and cut everybody out. So if you gave them access to whatever, Dropbox, this, that, the tools, whatever tools, email, whatever you gave them access to, it's your responsibility to make sure that it's a clean sweep and it's done. Right. So I want Adamola to kind of add here, right? Like, Adamola, I have a question for you. Taking a look at this command prompt, right? And you being having the background in AI and everything else, why do you think it's important that they do this and they understand how they can remote wipe? Because that's really what they need to do. Not only stop the access on their systems, but they need to remote wipe external data on other people's systems. Why do you think that's important? And how can AI really help with this?
No, I think I'm going to give a very practical example. I tend to forget that I'm also a CPA as well, and of course, this is from practice. Basically, as an auditor, I have actually seen situations wherein um, organizations are, would I say, are lagging behind in terms of their ghost exit process. And we've had situations in which disgruntled ex-employees have had access to the systems of their past employers, and it has resulted in a financial loss. And there have been situations in which it has resulted in reputational damage as well. So you don't want to fall into that bucket, right? So it's always essential that you have a checklist. I'm very very big on checklists. So it's essential you have a checklist that helps you to remove all access to information to your data systems from former employees. Remember, information is actually meant to be provided or shared on a need to know basis. So, as at the date of exit, they no longer require the information, and you need to do the necessary housekeeping, keep your house in order, because the cost of compliance always is less than the cost of non-compliance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Right. And you being the expert in this field, because obviously you have done the same work that I have done, right? AI, right? You can the way to use a tool like AI in something like this would be, hey AI, export your staff list. Export my staff list. Get a list of everyone who has active during tax season X, Y, and Z. Ask the AI to compare and upload that list on your terminated seasonal list to your private AI, depending on who you're using. If you're using ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, whoever you're using, and you tell it, I'm performing a ghost exit audit. Compare these two lists, identify any person on the terminated list who still shows an active in my system. Create a step by step checklist to remove their email, cloud drive, and software access. And it will create something for you. And this should be done. And then you can ask it once a month, check and see if anybody is showing access from these terminated lists or seasonal workers. Right? Because that's so critical. That's showing that you're trying to do your due diligence, especially to an external auditor, that you're protecting your system. But you're letting AI help you. Again, AI is a helper. That's what these tools were built for. It's going to help you identify and help you eliminate, if anything, a violation. And that's what this is all about, right? What we're teaching here today is how you can use these tools, how you can use AI to be that DIY or that second layer for things that you're not really sure how to do or that you may be doing manually. And because AI is so intuitive and it's able to dive into your systems, it can do a lot of things that you may not even be aware of. But let's talk about the next one. So, real-time alerts. Talk to me, Adamola. What can AI do here with real-time alerts?
In order
you know,
to fight a bot, you need a bot. And of course, think of
love it.
AI as that employee that never goes to sleep. So it's very important that we get this real time alerts. And of course, cybersecurity is no longer luxury; it is a necessity. So the best tool to fight the bots that the scammers are using out there basically is, an AI tool that can actually detect um, if your systems are under attack in real time, and of course, the necessary mitigating um, actions to take in real time.
Right. Listen, I've used a bot, right? And I have customers that I've shared this with. You can automate patching overnight, right? So patching, for those of you that don't know, all of your systems, when you get that nice little alert on your mobile phone that you need an update, that's what patching is. But patching is really against vulnerabilities on system and software, right? That you use applications and so on and so forth that have to be done. We call it Patch Tuesday in the cyber world, but it should be done at least once a week, if not every day. I always tell everybody, right? So you can deploy AI to automate that patching oversight. And what it does, it'll ensure your computers are updated or patched so hackers can't use old holes to get in. And that's what I like to tell everybody. Because the hackers, that's how they get in. They understand the vulnerabilities. They know your operating system vulnerabilities. They know a software vulnerability. They know an AI tool's vulnerability. This is what they do. They live and breathe to understand this so they can get your information, right? And then they build wonderful things that they can deploy on your system to gather your information, exfiltrate information, and this is how you can stop it, right? How to manage it with AI is you can connect Microsoft Defender for endpoint to Sentinel, right? Microsoft has Sentinel, which is kind of a second layer of defense if that's what you want to use. But again, if you have an MSP or a managed service provider, certainly see what they're offering and what they're doing. But this is, again, a second layer. Who's watching them to make sure that you're protected? And that's my ultimate goal when I teach compliance and I share risk. You always have to have a second. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one nest, right? You want to have a second point of view. You can use the Sentinel playbook, an automated to-do list. Does it beautifully, right? The automation, if Sentinel sees a computer that hasn't been updated in 7 days, the AI can automatically send a nag email to an employee or even temporary quarantine the device from the network until it's updated. That's how smart these tools are. If you want to do it yourself, you can certainly say, you're acting as a system Windows administrator. I need step-by-step guide on how to automate patching for my software. Here's a list of all my software. You can give them a list of all your software tools that you use, all your applications. If you identify any new threats or updates that come through, whether it be through federal, local, state laws, rules, regulations, like I'm just giving you an idea of how you can use AI and giving it a prompt to do that. But what would you add here as a risk, Adamola, by using something like this? Like, what's the risk of using AI? Because I'm sure that's popping up in people's minds as we're teaching this. Because a lot of people are scared to use these tools because they don't know what they do.
I think the risk is mostly from a data protection perspective. And of course, I know that you have actually mentioned this earlier today. It is very important that you do not use free versions of these tools to process client information, especially sensitive client information. So we need to ensure that also the tools that we use are compliant with the relevant data protection regulations that will fall under. I think if you're outside of the US, the GDPR is what applies to you. So,
Yep.
from a data protection perspective, it's very important that we ensure that the tools we use are compliant. We also do not use the free versions of the tools, and we ensure that we keep sensitive data protected.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the risk in using anything like this is the information that it'll digest and find, right? One of the things that I've set up for a couple of my clients is what I call the MFA oversight, the lie detector check, right? So what it does is it makes sure that everyone is actually using MFA when they should, And you can again set up a, the DIY is an easy win here for automation. Sentinel looks at your Enter ID, or formerly the Assure AD logs, the rule that you give it, right? You have to give it a rule that you want it to abide by. Ask Sentinel to flag any successful logins that didn't use MFA. Very clear, right? Very clear instructions. That's what these tools are all about. And why this matters is if a hacker steals a password, they might try to bypass MFA. Sentinel's AI spots the impossible login and locks the account instantly before they can even touch a tax return. So think about that. By using AI again, there's a benefit, but there's always risk involved. So it's understanding those risks, understanding that it's only as good as the information that you're inputting, because again, it drifts, it hallucinates. Adamoli, what's your thoughts on the hallucinations? What have you seen in that world with AI when because I've seen a lot from a cybersecurity perspective, but
A whole lot, and of course that is why I always emphasize that people should manually review the work that AI has produced for you. Ultimately, you are responsible for the body of work that AI produces for you. So it's very essential that we understand the context behind the work that we do, and of course also perform manual reviews after AI has actually done work for you, because AI does hallucinate. AI is vulnerable and prone to mistakes. So ultimately, the responsibility for the work that you do with AI lies with you.
yeah. It's interesting because there's now case laws that are coming out of New York and everything else when you're using tools like AI and everything. And um, you know, there's got to be, what they require is human in the loop, and that's what you said. It's called the human in the loop. You have to review and manualize everything. You can't just trust what the tool is producing, just like anything else. So interesting, right? um, but I'll tell you,
Trust but verify.
yeah, my slides are frozen, so just give it a minute, because the internet always likes to work the way we want it to work. But listen, not all robots are safe. Only use tools that promise to keep your secrets secret. And I think that's most important here. And I think that's what you were saying as well, right? I think, give me, let me see if my tool, I may have to shut down and start back up. But one of the interesting things I will tell you is when you upload like CSV, or you're uploading, I see people using these tools even in business contexts, and they're uploading, tax documents or whatever it is that they're looking for. Attorneys are using it for, reviewing contracts, creating contracts. You've got to make sure that you again take the time. Um, yeah, hold on one second. I'm so sorry. But let's talk about AI. So, what are you teaching Adamola on AI? Like when you're driving, until my tool, until I can get to the next slide. Tell me what you're teaching right now. What's the biggest thing that you're teaching and people are asking to learn?
Wow, it's quite interesting what people are asking to learn right now. I think it will shock you that most people are asking for the basics, right? They don't even know where to start when it comes to AI. And you get people asking you questions, for example, saying, oh, what AI tool should I learn? It's not about what AI tool you should learn. It's about what are you doing already, right? AI is meant to be an enhancer. It's meant to be a helper. So if you are an accountant, for example, you want to learn how to use AI tools that enhance the efficiency of your work. You want to use tools like data rails, for example, to support your Microsoft Excel, right? So there are a plethora of AI tools out there right now. So it's not about just jumping on and learning anything fancy that comes out, but basically looking at the ecosystem in which your work resides in, and you know learning, asking the right questions, learning the right how to use the right tools that support the work that you do, basically. So that would be it for me.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I have seen a couple of things when it comes down to training AI, right, and setting up these tools and having the opportunity to work with a lot of people. It's so dynamic, but in essence, it's very overwhelming. The output that AI can do is incredible, but there's a lot of free resources to learn how to use these tools. And anytime you sign up for these tools, I'll tell you, whether you're using, again, Gemini, Claude, or whatever, the alphabet soup, like I like to call it, of all the AIs. There's so many of them out there now and a lot of different platforms. You want to make sure that it's not learning from the data that you're putting in there. Turn on the most enhanced security measures that it offers. I tell that to everybody, right? To make sure that you're protecting yourself and your information. Read through the terms and agreement. Make sure that AI, whether it's the software that you downloaded and they're using AI, that you have a DPA plan, that it has a DPA in their entire terms and agreement, because you want to protect yourself. You don't want an auditor to see to you that, well, it doesn't matter, you should have known, right? It's not a defense in a court of law. So you have to make sure that you're using these, again, in the utmost understanding of how to use them. Train yourself. They all have training tools. Walk through it. Take the time. Learn it. It'll even teach you the prompting and everything else that we talked about earlier, right? And how to prompt correctly. There's a lot of free platforms that are driving AI and learning. 15 minutes a day. That's all it takes to learn AI. So, regulators look for continuous monitoring. We'll top back in, right? They don't want to see a plan that sits on the shelf. They want to see that you're actually checking the logs you set up. They want to see that you're maintaining a security logbook where you sign off on that monthly, and that you've reviewed it, and that you've reviewed those AI generated reports we just told you that you can set up, right? Use Microsoft Sentinel, again, to automate the oversight of all of this. It's very easy, but you can go into Microsoft. You can go ahead, and again, we talked earlier, cloud scan. Here are instructions. Use sensitive information type query for U.S. Social Securities. Scan all OneDrive, SharePoints, any other sites that for any matches. It's going to create a log. Tell it to save it to a folder that's in a vault, that's encrypted on the cloud, wherever you want. And that is your proof. So when an auditor walks in, you've automated that process. It'll look at it every month. You have oversight on it. You can prove that you have oversight on it, and you're safe. Map PII drives. We talked about this earlier. Mapping PII, very important. You must have a clear picture of where PII sits in your environment. Here's some easy wins for you, right? On your PC, list everything that you have. Your Z, your S drive, your D drive, your E drive, external USBs, hard drives, whatever it is. Right click on a folder, property security, see who has access to that data. Record the server path for your compliance documentation. Okay? Record it. Sorry, got ahead of myself. Ensure drives are only mapped to standard user profiles, not admin. I can't tell you how many times, and Adam Oling, I think you could probably attest to this. You go to a client, you have them log in, and you see that they're using their desktop as an admin user. What's the problem with that?
You're making your data porous. you're basically I think that is a simple thing. You're basically making your data porous, and when your data is porous, accessibility leads to vulnerability.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about least privilege, right? So anybody who is logging in as an admin on their desktop, you should be setting up a standard user for yourself and only using that standard user, because if your system gets hacked, they already have privilege rights to a lot of things they should not. As a standard user, they still need to figure out how to laterally move within your system to get to that admin portal and that admin right. So that is critical. If you have not done that, that's my one gift to everybody today. Go and set up a standard user and stop using admin portal. Map your PII drives. Again, you need to go in. I'm frozen again. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes this thing just gets wonky, and yeah, we're going to go back 2 slides. So let's talk about phishing emails. Spoof intelligence, M365. Go turn it on. Click on policy and rules. Click on threat policies, anti-phishing, under the rules section. It teaches you how to turn on the lie detector to your email box. Ask your AI to review suspicious emails by pasting the email header, not the body, into the prompt. Auditors will check it to see if you have technical safeguards against phishing. This is a technical safeguard. But let's say someone sent you an email and you weren't sure and you don't have these tools turned on. Just, again, copy and paste it into your AI bot and say, could you please verify this? Does this look suspicious? And it's going to analyze that data that you put in there, the header, from your email against probably the dark web and everything else. And it'll tell you if it seems suspicious and found something. Again, use the tool to help you protect. Audit logs, again, we talked about this. Turn them on. Very easy. Go to Microsoft, click on audit in the sidebar. You'll see the banner, start recording user and admin activity. Click immediately. Select the date range, the specific user if you have different users. I'm sorry, I keep jumping around. See every file that was opened and deleted. Click export and save the CSV for your audit verification into the folder that you've already got in your cloud. That is proof that you're tracking things and you're on top of it. So, Adamola, do we have any questions out there? Or do we want to talk about a little bit more about AI? Any questions in the chat? I'm not really sure.
I see no questions today.
Okay. Well, now's the time for questions. I mean, we're here on this platform. If anybody's joined us today, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask them now. We're here to help you. AI is critical. But Adamola, talk to us a little bit, if there's no questions, talk to us about the school community. Let's get into a little conversation, because I am so intrigued about what you're doing here. I like to understand it so other people can actually be helped by it.
Okay, so in very simple terms, the school community is a community. It's an ecosystem basically where professionals and entrepreneurs can come together. They can collaborate, they can network, they can help elevate each other and everyone within the community. So we have amazing stuff happening already. Today's webinar is part of the events we have on the calendar for the community, and of course we have really great stuff in common. We have some of our past guests on the podcast who would be facilitating masterminds, trainings, webinars in the forthcoming weeks. So it's really amazing. It's a place to be. It's the right place to be.
You know what I find interesting about that you have past podcasts, because I know that you've interviewed top 1% futurist. I mean, you have a large, in-depth network of successful people who are pioneers, right, in their industry and have done things, and all of us have learned from them. So, I'm really looking forward to this community and building it even more and helping. I'm glad that you invited me, that I'm able to teach cybersecurity to the community base there. And I hope that it grows and grows and grows, right? Where can they find the community? Do you have a link for it? Can you put it in the chat?
It
Where can they
is,
find
it is on school, and of course, I would endeavor to add the community link to the description after the live session. So you can find us on school, and of course, you can check the description if you're watching this after the fact. You will
Okay,
definitely find the link to the community on there.
that's great. Well, listen, in my world, I'll share with you what's going on in my world. Right now, I'm building my GRC platform. So this is a risk and audit compliance platform for small businesses. It's intuitive. It's AI assisted using agentic AI, and we talked a lot about agentic AI and the things that it can do today. Although it's agentic AI, there's always human in the loop because as a cyber engineer, I have to validate anything that this tool will pick up. But what it does for small businesses, it's really a one and done compliance platform that gets you prepared and audit ready. Builds all of your documentation. It builds your risk. It builds your IRP plan. It builds all your policy and procedures. It actually helps you identify gaps within your system. It will actually tell you if there's a problem. It gives you all the recommendations on how to fix that problem, who's responsible for that problem. It's so intuitive that it's constantly monitoring all the vulnerabilities, understanding the patches. It has an AI assistant built in, so it can give you remediation reminders, like we talked about the ghost exit. It will automatically remind you, hey, you have a list of all these employees. This one's no longer working. We need to cancel this, kill that. So it's so intuitive that it's going to do a lot for my small business community. I'm very proud of this tool and what we're building. It also has all of the compliance and background built against 22 cybersecurity frameworks. So it's really intuitive. And what it also does for you is it's going to give you that audit trail, and it allows auditors, you can deploy it to an auditor. An auditor can have a full stack, as we call it, an audit bundle, that it automatically produces for them so they can start their assessment immediately and not wait for several departments to gather things. Or even if you're one person and you hand them over a binder, they don't have to flip through a binder. It's going to generate everything for them. It's going to give them the information that they need immediately. And I built this to help my customers because I have so many customers who don't have the resources or the uh, internal IT departments, and they're paying external people, but they're not really getting them compliant. So this really will help you. If you're interested, certainly DM me at any given time. I'm also giving away today with this web class a free ebook on how to get yourself WISP and audit ready. So DM me in LinkedIn or on, YouTube or wherever else you like to find me on Facebook, and I'll send you that PDF. Just let me know that you wanted to get the free PDF from the web class today. And with that said, yeah, I'm just having problems today with my whole tool. So it doesn't like us. I want to give me one moment because I want to get back in here. I want to make sure I add this back in. Hold on. Because my tool went off, everyone. So give me a moment. Let me share my screen because I have even a better slide next. And there it is.
There we go.
There it is. Talk to us, Mr. King of Dems.
Whoa. Wow. So those are the podcasts that are making waves right now in the global scenes. So if you want PR, if you want authority, if you want credibility, those are the platforms to go for. And of course, you can always reach out. It's it's on there, right? So if you want to feature on the podcast, you can join the school community, and of course, you can also reach out directly, drop a comment, and of course, my team will take it up from there.
Yeah, and that's great. Listen, you've been doing a lot of good work for several years. And I think, any freebies for them today?
No freebies, I'm afraid. But the school community is free. The school
That's
community is
it.
free, and of course, there's a lot of value prop on there. So we keep giving back to the community.
That's great. Listen, I'm very proud of what you do. And again, I was a guest on your platform, so I can tell you that like being on the platform and being interviewed by you was phenomenal. I learned a lot also from you, and as you and I continue to partner
Thank
and work
you.
together, it's always great to understand that we both have um, the same thought process when it comes to building communities and everything else. But for a takeaway for AI today, for anybody else that's listening, and hopefully people have listened to the end, what's the one biggest thing with using these tools or anything that you want to share from an AI perspective that they can learn?
Oh wow, interesting. Just before I got on this session, I was in a session with the world's number one futurist, the
Wow.
world's number one ranked futurist, and one big takeaway from that conversation is the fact that AI is not the future. You are the future. AI is not here to replace you, it's here to enhance you. So do what you can with AI. And of course, the best time to start is now. At the very minimum, be AI literate. Like, learn, be a person with a curiosity to ask the right questions. And you definitely will not get lost.
All right. Well, listen, that ends our session for today. I appreciate everybody joining. I hope that everybody gets the benefits of this. But I got to go because I do have a meeting I got to get on. And I appreciate it, Adam. I'll see you next time.
So take care.